So today it's my pleasure to talk to Mike Tracy, who's professor and director of Jazz Studies of the Jazz Studies program at the University of Louisville School of Music. Professor Tracy is also the leader of Hora Certa, the band that will be playing at the Louisville Jazz Society's Signature Series concert on Sunday, January 29th at 7 p.m. at the Pigment Gallery at the Melwood Arts Center. It's a real pleasure to talk to you today.
Nice, thanks.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you got interested in Brazilian music?
Oh, that's a long story, but to put it down in a few words, a number of years ago, exactly 1987, a Brazilian student was searching for a place to study, and he ended up landing here by just happen chance. And we became friends. He got through the program. He went back home. He became the dean of his school. He invited me to come down, and that started, a long series of interactions between myself and Brazilian musicians, Brazilian schools. It's well over 200 and some odd people who've come back and forth all these years, and I think I've made 13 or 14 trips, and I stayed there for a while. So I love the music, I love the culture, I like the people. It's a great place to be. So that's kind of started my relationship with that kind of music.
Right. So it's teaching really was that brought you into it.
Well, yeah, the student Vadim Arsky came here and he got his master's, and he and I stayed connected, and one thing led to another. We had a number of grants that allowed students from Brazil to come here and study for a year, and we had our students who would go there. It was literally a true exchange, and a number of those students came back to get a master's here. A number of them have stayed close to me. We play together whenever I go there, so teaching and all of it was all part of it together at one time, and it all kind of fell neatly into place.
So when did you decide that you were going to have your own Brazilian band, Hora Certa? What's the origin of the band?
Well, part of that came about with Renato, and we were making a CD many years ago, and the music was primarily Brazilian. And there weren't enough people here, I thought, at the time to put something together. In the meantime, years went on, we kept including the music. It was all part of anything I did. And then I went down there, and Milton Pinheiro was one of the people who came here as a graduate student. He and I formed a group down there that I made a CD with only Brazilian musicians. It was fantastic. And when he came here to school, we decided to put something together. There was something before that, but it wasn't nearly as extensive as this had been. And then with Milton and some other guys that either had been to Brazil or native Brazilians, we put this group together. And it was formerly the Mike Tracy Brazilian Ensemble, which is kind of corny. But Hora Certa being Right Time was one of the songs on the CD, and it seemed like an appropriate title.
Good. I like the title. I was going to ask you next what the title means.
It means right time in Portuguese.
Yeah. So Hora Certa's released 2 records, I believe?
Well, we released one with the Brazilian group with Hamilton and others in it from Brazil. I recorded that in 2015.
That's the Surf's Up record?
No, that's Surfboard. That's with Renato.
Okay.
And that's with guys who were here. Well, actually, I forgot about that one. I shouldn't do that. These were Brazilians that lived in New York. They came down, Renato knew, and we made a recording here. That's probably more the origin of it. Right. And that's how that came about. And then when I went to Brazil, as part of this exchange we were doing, and Hamilton and I put the group together to do that, and then when he came here, we kept it together, because all the music on that CD, that recording, which is Hora Certa, is original, primarily his material, but others in the group. And so we were all playing together, and then when he came, he finished up, we made another CD before he left, which is Fotografia,
right,
which has some original music, adaptations of Brazilian standards, and we kind of steer away from the typical Brazilian tune. We look for things that are a little different, that have different rhythmic feels, different composers, different harmonic sequences, and so he was a part of that. So that group, Hora Certa, is really those last 2 CDs, one with Hora Certa and one with Fotografia.
Is that what we're going to hear on Sunday night, or does the band have something new up its sleeve?
We got some new stuff. We'll play some of the old ones. I mean, old ones is the wrong way to say it, but play things we've done before. But there's a number of people I keep in contact, and people spread names and things around. And so a number of years ago, Renato gave me a CD by his nephew, Andre Vasconcelos, who's a fantastic bassist. And Andre had these 2 CDs, and they're just fantastic. So thankful to Facebook and all that kind of stuff, I reached out to Andre and said, man, can you send me the charts of these? And which he did, and we're going to do a number of those pieces. And then a couple years ago, I had a Fulbright, and I went to Ecuador. And one of the people at Ecuador that wanted to play together was a graduate of our school too, Claudia Martinez. And she had music from another Brazilian composer, Deborah Gergal, I believe is how you pronounce her name, but I wasn't familiar with her. So I reached out to Deborah and to see what if she had recordings of the originals, and she's a fantastic lady and composer. It's like having your mom sit at the piano playing these great tunes. And so we have incorporated music from her as well. So these are certainly composers that are not Jobim,
right,
but they're all influenced by the same music and the same spirit.
Right, and so we're going to hear some of that stuff on
Yep.
Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Great,
Mm-hmm.
great. Can you tell me about who's playing in the band now?
Sure. Wynton Reynolds is the pianist, and Wynton's, of course, a member of the Jazz Society and actively involved with the board, I believe. And then Terry O'Mahony, who is also involved. He's the drummer, and both Wynton and Terry had visited Brazil previously. In fact, Terry went down the year that I took 40 people to Brazil. That was in 2001. And so they have a close connection with the music. And also one of our students from here at school, when Hamilton left, he was replaced by Giovanni Senna, who was a true Brazilian bassist. And when Giovanni was leaving, I kept going, man, I got to find a bass player who can actually
Play at the right time?
Play the right time, and be able to understand what we want to do and be adaptable. And so as soon as I met Cameron when he was a freshman, I knew that he had that little spark that could do it.
Cameron
Gooden. And he played already, I think, the last concert you had with the guys over there.
Yeah.
And so once Giovanni left, I reached out. I kept thinking, who am I going to get? And so I reached out to Cameron. Are you interested in doing it? Here's some things to listen to. There were a couple other bassists that were around, but they would have had to drive in, and that just wasn't going to work very conveniently. So we tried it, and he's worked out great. And so he's playing bass. And then we have Kiko Cibrian is going to be playing percussion. So unlike most bands, we have one really good drummer and another really good drummer. So we have two drummers in the band, and Kiko is playing all the little funny stuff. And then sometimes he's even playing, it's like almost having two drums going on at one time. And it gives that flavor of the mixture of the sounds and things of that nature. So it does make it interesting to play with.
Right.
And one of the tunes that Andre wrote has got a fantastic introduction that's hypnotic. And it's all based on the drums. And nothing's on one except this little click in the back. You can hear the hi-hat. It's the only thing that's on one. Everything else is everywhere else. And so the way he and Terry interact is really great. So we have two drummers.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's fun.
Really looking forward to the show.
Yeah.
It sounds like the Louisville Jazz Society All-Stars band almost.
Well, a lot of people were there, and in fact, years ago, I was on the board of the Jazz Society back when it was the Louisville Jazz Council. So it goes, a long time ago. So we all have connections to society.
That's great. It's great opportunity to hear this music at the Jazz Society.
We
great that
appreciate
you guys are playing it.
Yeah, it's really fun to do it. Thanks.
So,
Sunday, January 29th.
at the Melwood Gallery.
All right, thanks. I look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you.